One December morning, Sir Topham Hatt came to see Neville.
Neville, today I need you to work with Stafford at Knapford Yards.
Right away, sir, said Neville. And with that, Neville set off for Knapford Yards. When he arrived, he could see that there were lots of trucks. Just then, Stafford arrived. "Glad that you're going to be helping me today," said Stafford. "It's my pleasure," said Neville. "Now, let's get started." Stafford shunted a goods train for James, and after that he shunted some fuel wagons for Norman. Neville shunted some trucks of roofing slate for Henry. And then he shunted flatbeds of iron girders for Donald and Douglas. "Neville, I think that you're forgetting something," said Stafford. "I am?" "Yes, the brake van." "Oh, right." Later, Stafford was getting his battery charged when he saw Neville shunting some tar wagons and wasn't looking happy. "Who'll be pulling those?" he asked. "Well," said Neville, "the lucky engine that will be pulling the tar wagons is Gordon." "Oh dear," muttered Stafford. "He's going to be in a foul mood when he gets here." And he was.
Me?
Fumed Gordon.
Pulling tar wagons? This is disgraceful.
Stafford and Neville stayed quiet.
"Oh well,"
sighed Gordon.
"It's Christmas Eve tomorrow, and I will be pulling a very special train."
"Do you mean?"
"That's right, the Christmas Eve Express."
"But didn't you pull the Christmas Eve Express last year?" asked Neville. "And the year before that?" asked Stafford.
"Yes, I have,"
said Gordon.
"Why?"
"Maybe someone else should have a turn pulling it?" Neville said.
"Nonsense,"
wheezed Gordon.
"There's only one engine that can pull the Christmas Eve Express, and that's me."
And Gordon steamed away in a huff. Stafford went back to shunting. Neville sighed sadly. "I like to pull the Christmas Eve Express," Neville said to himself. Neville was shunting some empty trucks when the yard manager came to see him. "I just received a message from Sir Topham Hatt. Gordon has had an accident at Maithwaite. He needs you to take Gordon to the works." "I'm on my way," said Neville. When Neville arrived at Maithwaite, he could see that Rocky was lifting Gordon back onto the rails.
"This is another mess you've got yourself into, Gordon," scolded Sir Topham Hatt. "You won't be pulling the Christmas Eve Express this year." "Oh, bother,"
Gordon sulked. Neville coupled up to Gordon and helped him to the works. Neville was heading back to his shed, but as he was passing Tidmouth's sheds, he started to hear a noisy argument. "Sir Topham Hatt should choose me to pull the Christmas Eve Express," boasted James.
"You? Why you?"
fumed Henry. "I'm fast, strong, and just look at my paintwork," said James.
"What about it?"
grumbled Henry. "It's red, and red is a Christmas color," said James. Red isn't the only Christmas color, fumed Henry.
Silence!
Bellowed a well-known voice. It was Sir Topham Hatt.
As you all know, Gordon had an accident and will be in the works till New Year's Eve. So, I have telephoned the Duke and Duchess, and they have agreed to let Spencer come to Sodor.
So that means, asked Thomas.
Yes,
said Sir Topham Hatt.
Spencer will be pulling the Christmas Eve Express.
He turned and walked away. All the engines groaned. Neville was disappointed. He was hoping that Sir Topham Hatt would pick him. With a sad wheesh of steam, Neville headed back to his shed. The next day was Christmas Eve, and Neville wasn't feeling cheerful. He was back at Knapford Yards with Stafford. Stafford could see that Neville was unhappy. "Cheer up," said Stafford. "There's always next year." "Next year, Gordon will be pulling the Christmas Eve Express," sulked Neville. "And the year after that, and the year after that." "Don't be too sure. I guarantee that some year you'll be pulling the Christmas Eve Express," smiled Stafford. "Oh, I don't think so," said a well-known voice. Spencer steamed up. He heard everything. "Expresses get to be pulled by fast and powerful engines like me," boasted Spencer. "Thomas, Percy, and Doc have pulled the Express before," snorted Neville. "And from what I heard, they did a good job." "Yes, well, if I was there, I could have done a better job," huffed Spencer. Neville and Stafford could tell that Spencer was getting too big for his buffers. "Anyway, Neville," continued Spencer, "there's a lot of engines that are bigger and stronger than you. So your chances of pulling the Christmas Eve Express are low. Here's some advice. Stick to pulling dirty goods trains." And Spencer steamed smugly away. "Take no notice," soothed Stafford. "Your chance will come." But Neville was uncertain that he would ever pull the Christmas Eve Express. Neville was heading back to his shed when he saw Henry and James. "I was passing Knapford Station and the express coaches are being decorated," said James. "And I heard that Mrs. Kindly is dressing up as Mrs. Claus," said Henry. "It is a shame that the Christmas Eve Express is being pulled by Mr. Silver Show-Off," grumbled James. "I have a better name for him. The Christmas Snob," fumed Henry. Neville sighed. "If only it was me pulling the Christmas Eve Express." That evening, Thomas shunted the express coaches at Knapford. The station's platform was packed. At Tidmouth Sheds, Spencer was decorated in lights and holly. Neville was nearby. "Don't I look nice?" boasted Spencer. "You look like a Christmas snob if you ask me," muttered Neville. Spencer steamed away to Knapford Station. But as Spencer was getting closer to Knapford Station, he ground to a halt. "What's happened to me?" asked Spencer. "I don't feel well." It turns out that Spencer's safety valve had burst. Stafford was shunting some coal trucks when he noticed Sir Topham Hatt looking frustrated.
"This is a disaster," said Sir Topham Hatt. "We must find another engine to pull the Christmas Eve Express."
"Excuse me," said Stafford, "but I know the perfect engine." Neville was still at Tidmouth Sheds when Stafford arrived. "Sir Topham Hatt needs to see you at Knapford." Neville was confused, but he headed off to Knapford. Sir Topham Hatt was waiting for him.
"Neville,"
He said,
"since Spencer has broken down, you can pull the Christmas Eve Express."
Neville was overjoyed. Spencer just sulked. Quickly, the workmen removed the decorations off Spencer and put them on Neville. "Don't I look nice, Spencer?" teased Neville. Spencer didn't answer. Soon, Neville was coupled up to the Christmas Eve Express. He could see there were lots of passengers. Suddenly, he felt nervous. Just then, James arrived. "Neville? What happened to Spencer?" he asked. Neville told James the whole story. James could only smile. "I just hope that I give an exciting ride," said Neville. "You will, Neville," smiled James. "You're a useful engine after all." That made Neville feel better. The guard blew his whistle, and Neville steamed away.
"Now, Spencer," said Sir Topham Hatt, "a little bird told me that you were very rude to Neville earlier."
Spencer gulped. Neville was still a little nervous, but soon he was enjoying himself. "Christmas Eve Express coming through!" he shouted happily. Neville sped by Elsbridge Station. People clapped and cheered for Neville. "Merry Christmas, Neville!" they said. Henry was taking a goods train to Knapford when he saw Neville coming. "Well done, Neville!" cheered Henry. "You are a credit to the railway." Neville beamed with pride. Neville sped by Wellsworth Station and was having a wonderful time. But then, he had a thought. "Gordon's Hill is coming soon. I hope that I won't get stuck." Neville arrived at the bottom of Gordon's Hill. "Here I go. I can do this. I can do this," said Neville. Neville pulled with all his might, but halfway up, he started to slow down. "Mustn't give up! Mustn't give up!" said Neville. He pulled harder and harder. At last, he reached the top. "I did it!" cheered Neville. Neville got back to Knapford Station.
"Well done, Neville," said Sir Topham Hatt. "You are a really useful engine."
"And you've shown Spencer a thing or two," said Henry. Neville just smiled. Neville was heading back to his shed when he saw Stafford. "I've heard that you've done very well," said Stafford. "I have," said Neville. "I had a wonderful time." Just then, the church bells rang. "Well, it's midnight," said Stafford. "Merry Christmas." "Merry Christmas," said Neville.